click record and actually record my second ever video on YouTube. First time I'm not here with my videographer. Either way, welcome to the Elevate channel. I'm Coach Paolo, and what we're going to discuss today is the truth about building muscles naturally. Now, natural, non-natural, natty or not, has become a topic of conversation, to say the least, on YouTube and every social platform, and with a lot of skepticism from people about, is this guy natural, is this guy not natural? Well, I tell you what, I've always been natural. In fact, I have never ever considered, taking steroids in my life, and I'm also a natural competitor. So what I will say is, trust me or don't trust me, but I build my physique naturally, and all I want to do in this channel is give you the knowledge and tools to do the same. I have been training for 14 years of my life. In a few months, it will actually be 15, and I was a very skinny kid. I was kind of like skinny fat, very narrow shoulders. I hated how my body looked. I hated how my face looked compared to my body. So if you've watched the previous video shared, there's some insights about who I am. However, I was able to change that. And here's the funny thing. I've actually been training for many years before I hacked how to actually make progress month after month, year after year, and actually impress myself and impress other people with my physique. But it has been a journey that taught me a lot, and what I want to do in this channel is essentially give you the tools so you don't make the same mistakes I made. Okay, this is my before and after. The picture on the left is me 14 years ago, having 0 to no muscles, and the picture on the right was me at the end of November when I was prepping for a photo shoot that I did in December. In 2023, I competed in bodybuilding for the first time ever. Pretty funny, I've competed in bodybuilding for the first time in 12 years. But the thing is, I loved bodybuilding for what it gave me. I did not love bodybuilding because of its competitive nature. I actually realized I could compete without steroids, and I found that out in 2020. Before 2020, I thought you could only compete if you took drugs. So in my mind, never even crossed me to maybe I should compete one year. But the moment I realized natural bodybuilding exists, I was like, well, maybe that's something I could do. In 2023, I had my first season. It was a very successful season, actually, because I won my first show against 12 other people. I won my second show against one assisted guy. That was an open federation, so not natural. I came 5th in the UK in 2023, which was again really successful because I have competed against 15 people of mixed sizes, and I'm quite a tall guy, and therefore competing against short people will always put you in a position of potentially disadvantage, because shorter people will have a shorter femur and therefore will be able to grow the legs a little bit more easily. However, fair play to whoever beat me. I am not saying I came 5th because of my genetics. I was actually really happy to be 5th because I've actually placed in the top 5. So fair play to everyone who participated at that event. However, how did it change my shape? Let's get into that. So I was 17 years old, and I joined the gym. I joined the gym, and I got there pretty consistently, 4 to 5 times a week. And I drink protein shaker after the gym. I tried to eat enough protein. I had a trainer giving me a program. It was a big bodybuilder as well, so I really thought, like, this shit's gonna work. Let's just say that at the end of the year, I've had some newbie gains, but once again, not something that will say, this is working, I should continue. Nonetheless, I did stick to it. And I would say at the end of the second year, I made a little bit more progress, but looking back, I could have made like way more. Now, that was all, generally consistency. Consistency brought me as far as people can tell I go to the gym. But now, 2 years in, I was still quite unhappy with the way I looked, and I was always wondering, like, what is it that's going to bring me to the next level? At the time, year three, I even had a coach. Somebody was looking after my training, my nutrition, or give me like a meal plan. Once again, big bodybuilder, supposed to bring me where I wanted to be, right? Because this guy's big, is going to get me there. And I would say that yes, I did make a little bit more progress, but and I was starting to like my body a little bit more. However, it wasn't until literally 2020, which arguably was 6 years in my training. Imagine I've been training for 6 years, quite consistently, and my physique did not look like somebody that's been training for 6 years consistently. So at that point, I was like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I don't understand it. And at the time, well, it was basically like COVID. All the gym closed down, and I could only train at home with bands. But here's what I started doing. I've started tracking my food, and I have started tracking my performance. Two very important points we're going to talk about, because now we're going to talk about the importance of data. You are never going to grow unless you have data, unless you have data about how you look, how big you are, how much you weigh, how much you lift for every single lift. That is what made progress possible. So let's talk about point number two. What works? What works is very simple. Number one, you might have heard this word before. It's called progressive overload. Yeah, it's true. Progressive overload will bring you very far. But let's talk about what progressive overload is, because I think it's misunderstood by a lot of people. Progressive overload is essentially the chase of better. It's the chase of better. When we say better, we don't even just mean more weight. We mean more quality, more repetition, more intensity, more specificity, and everything that's more and better means progressive overload. Okay, so that might mean you executing a movement much better, you increasing your reps, you increasing your time under tension, and we're not talking about lifting extremely slowly. I'm talking about lifting with intent and spending more time under tension rather than using momentum, cheating, stuff like that. And of course, more weight on the bar or on the machine. So progressive overload is number one. But applying progressive overload will do absolutely nothing for you unless you apply another very important principle, which is recovery. Everyone thinks muscles grow like in the gym. The gym and everything you do in the gym is a stimulus that make your muscle grow. However, your muscles do not grow in the gym. That's very important you understand this. Your muscles will grow when you do absolutely nothing. My muscles are growing right now as I'm recording this video because I'm not lifting. Your muscles will grow during your sleep. And if your sleep is not there, you're just not going to grow muscles. You can do everything right. Your nutrition, your cardio, your progressive overload, you track your performance, track your data. You'll track your data and you will see that you're not building muscles because your sleep is not dialed in. Recovery is a very important part, because a very good recovery will also mean very good performance. And very good performance will also mean you're applying progress or a lot better. So if you're not sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night, if you're not trying to be as regular as possible with the time you go to bed and the time you wake up, unfortunately, you will not build muscles efficiently. Now, if you work shifts, you are, of course, have a little bit of a limiting factor compared to other people, but there's ways to do that as well. I have worked shifts before, and if you do your very best to, sleep whenever you can in as much of a normal person way as possible, you can still grow muscles. And that goes even if you work night shift. You just need a plan and in a split and a volume that allows you to do that around your shift and learn how to manage that. But yes, it is possible. Point number three is nutrition consistency. It's not just nutrition, it's consistency with nutrition, okay? So what that means is essentially tracking your foods when things are within your control, but also do your best to track your food when things are outside of your control. It also means being consistent Monday to Sunday and not just Monday to Friday and then whatever happens over the weekend. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have some flexibility during the weekend. However, you need to track that and you need to be aware of what is actually going into your body. So nutrition, consistency, I would say it's more important than being perfect Monday to Friday. In fact, it's so much better that you are imperfect Monday to Sunday at about 80% than being 100% Monday to Friday and going 5 to 10% Friday to Sunday. Simple as that. Now let's talk about what doesn't work, okay? Because I feel like now that we're exposed with, social media and you're able to basically watch everyone's workout, including, fitness influencers and whoever has a great physique that's telling you you should train a certain way. What doesn't work is point number one, chasing trends. If you chase trends, it's not going to work because trends are essentially what is popular in the moment. And while it grabs a lot of clicks, including yours, it doesn't mean that's going to work for you. Let's talk about also what keeps on not working. Doing more than what you actually can stick to. So if you've been told that 5 days is the ideal split to build muscles, but you can't sustain that, then that's not going to work for you. If 3 days is sustainable, then you should do 3 days. So just because somebody's doing something that works for them, it doesn't mean that's going to work for you. So once again, chasing trends and doing more than you can actually stick to will not work for you. Let's talk about point number 3. What doesn't work is relying on supplements. There's a lot of supplements out there that will promise literally the world, including these will increase your testosterone, which, people will think like it will increase my testosterone, it will increase my muscle mass. The two are vastly not correlated at all. In fact, I have very low testosterone myself. I'm more than happy to show my blood test, and that's due to like a genetic factor. However, I do have kind of like a glimpse of muscle. You can kind of tell I go to the gym, right? So relying on supplements, especially supplements that are promised to do, magic, is just not a long-term strategy. Supplement can supplement, like there can be a supplement to what you're doing, but as you can understand by now, relying on supplements is not going to work. Now let's talk about how to get significantly better, because I think this marries pretty well with point number 1 and point number 2, which was my journey and obviously what worked for me, and also talking about what actually works. The basics. Yeah, I know. Shit, I thought it was going to be something, unexpected. But how to get significantly better is mastering the basics. Okay? So mastering the basics is learning to lift well. Like being so obsessed with learning an efficient technique of lifting. And when I mean efficient, means efficient. It allows you to lift as much weight as possible, with as much stability as possible, with as much muscle-mind connection as possible, with as much blood flowing to the muscles as possible. Then, of course, tracking your lift. Because if you don't track what you lift, you're not going to know what, like if you're going up, if you're going down, if you're staying the same, if you change something. And also tracking your lift only on the important lift is also not going to work. You are supposed to track everything. Point number 2 is sleep consistency. We talked about the importance of sleep earlier. However, you should really do your best to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time, because this will regulate your circadian rhythm, which, you stay with me, is really, really, really important. Because once again, your body's going to supply energy at a certain time, and if it becomes consistent, something absolutely brilliant will happen, which is you will build muscles at a much faster rate than you ever have. Point number 3 will be protein. Don't underestimate I'm not going to say just how much protein you need, but how consistently you need protein, okay? Protein is obviously the building blocks of muscles. Not only muscles, it's skin, hair, organs, bones, immune system, and so much more. Protein is important for so many things. However, be consistent with your protein intake as well. Track your protein and make sure you don't get too much more or too much less than what you should. So, as a bonus, let's talk about how I wasted years, because see me talking here. The reason why I'm making this video is because I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. I was going to the gym 6 years without tracking my lift, without having a glimpse of sleep consistency, without tracking my nutrition. And even though people could kind of tell I was going to the gym, I've literally wasted 6 years of my life where if somebody taught me, you need to track your lift, to do this, to that, like, I'm not going to say I'll be Mr. Olympia now, but I'll be in a significantly better place after 14 years. So I'm not wearing this, 14, nearly 15 years of training as a badge or honor. And I don't think my physique reflects I've been training for 14 years. But I'm telling you this because I've made more progress in the last 6 years than I have made in the past 14 years. 6, 8, 14. Sounds about right. So the conclusion of this video is, if you found this video helpful, hit the subscribe button. So maybe when other videos will come up, you will be notified. And thank you for watching. Thank you for getting to this point. I appreciate you, and I hope you got something away from it. Till next time.